All right, so in the 2019-2020 season, the Warriors finished last place in the Western Conference, 15-50, their record. I mean, how bad is that? They only played 65 games, of course, as the pandemic shut down the rest of the season, but the Warriors had an embarrassing season where they just could hardly win games. They had a roster flooded with injuries, and I thought in lieu of the Warriors being one game away from the finals as I speak right now, it would be interesting to talk about a season I thought was at the same time simultaneously depressing and fun, the 2019-2020 Warriors season. Now this season, like I said, was following a lot of injuries coming off from the prior season. Obviously, the Warriors had reached the finals in 2019 against the Toronto Raptors, lost in 6 games, and lost Klay Thompson in the process, and lost Kevin Durant to free agency and injury in the process as well. So the Warriors were without big stars, and they had Steph Curry kind of leading the way. And just like now, I mean, people were sort of questioning, how can Steph Curry step up? He's playing amongst a lot of young players. I mean, he's got Draymond, but who else is there besides that? And also the Warriors, I mean, sort of off the court, but sort of on the court, they moved into Chase Center. And so, expectations were high. They're in this brand new facility. And I thought it was kind of fun. The Warriors, it's a new era. It's no longer the expectation that they're going to win it every year. And so, let's look at the Warriors draft picks. So obviously Jordan Poole was our first draft pick in the 2019 draft. And obviously the Warriors didn't have the best pick considering they went to the finals the previous season. But Jordan Poole, he wasn't seen as a very, very highly coveted player. Now we all know now he is taken the league by storm as in the playoffs this year and the regular season. But back then he was sort of a rotation player at Michigan. And I was like, when the Warriors drafted him, I was like, okay, another guy that's probably only going to be on our team for a couple of seasons, if that, and probably get traded or signed somewhere else. Because in the Warriors dynasty era of their playoffs and, final success, when they're drafted guys, they typically would not get any role at all because, they just would not have the opportunity to be amongst, the starting lineup when they were rookies. I mean, I'm talking like Patrick McCaw, guys like that just never got an opportunity. And so they wanted more playing time, and just being on the Warriors wasn't practical for them. And so that's what I thought Jordan Poole might be. I thought, maybe Jordan Poole, he's only averaging 12.5 minutes per game during his freshman year at Michigan. He's just sort of a rotation player. And he averaged about, in his final season at Michigan, he averaged about 13 points a game. I'm like, okay, this guy's okay, maybe. At best, he might put up some points. But, I was hopeful, and I heard some good things about him. So Jordan Poole, I thought, maybe could be beneficial to our team. Now, the guy that I thought was so interesting in this season was Eric Pascal. Now, Eric Pascal was also a draft pick. The Warriors actually traded up to get him in the 41st overall pick in that draft. And so they drafted Eric Pascal, another guy I'd never really heard of. And he, surprisingly, averaged more points per game than the first round pick Jordan Poole. And he went to Villanova. And, if you can remember, Eric Pascal during this 2019-2020 season was absolutely, mind-blowing, the fact that he's doing certain things. He was putting up 38 points in a game sometimes. He was dunking like crazy. He was looking like a combination. I sort of compared him to a combination of Draymond Green and Kevin Durant, like a mini version of that. Like, he had the size, he had the athleticism. And we all know now it didn't work out, right? He played 2 seasons on the Warriors, including that rookie season and the following season. And, he just was flooded with, injuries and just not really being able to, capitalize. And so I think it's a bummer that Eric Pascal didn't, end up having a successful career with us. But that rookie season for Eric Pascal, I got to give him credit. I mean, he was, fun to watch for a lot of these games. The Warriors also saw sort of guys, first of all, the Warriors also, picked up DAngelo Russell. And DAngelo Russell was given to the Warriors in a sign and trade with the Nets that involved Kevin Durant. And I had high expectations for the Warriors backcourt despite not having Klay. I was like, okay, DAngelo Russell and Curry. Long story short, Curry breaks his hand against the Phoenix Suns. So, DAngelo Russell had to sort of run the floor himself. He could not really handle the pressure. I acknowledge he's a good player now. But the Warriors ultimately traded DAngelo Russell to the Timberwolves for Andrew Wiggins, a guy that was sort of overlooked, and draft picks. And that ended up being a game-changing trade. As we know now, in the present day, Andrew Wiggins is making a huge impact. And he was only on, like, for that season at least, he was only on the Warriors for, a couple games because, or, like a month or so because of the season being shortened. But yeah, Curry broke his hand as well, so that really hurt the Warriors as well. But we saw guys sort of emerging that, like, I thought maybe could be stars. Marquise Chris, he was looking maybe like a potential star in the making. Then you had sort of role player guys like Kai Bowman and Alec Burks, and they were sort of filling the holes of guys we didn't have. Juan Toscano Anderson, who's obviously currently on the team, was sort of emerging as a player that I thought maybe could have potential in the future, and he definitely does. So I give him credit. But then there was other guys that just straight up didn't really do that good for us, like Jacob Evans or Drake and Bender. So I feel like the season was a lot of replacing and a lot of who can we get for cheap to just fill this void. Now the Warriors, of course, won 15 games in this year. They lost pretty badly in some of their losses, and I think really the Warriors kind of just showed, like, comparing them then to now, it's just like when you're healthy and you have good trades and good draft picks, you are a championship contender. And so, yeah, they were definitely a team that was just unfortunate. Also in this draft, less notably, but the Warriors drafted Alan Smailagic, and he didn't really last long there either. So, those 3 draft picks, only one of them panned out, Jordan Poole, but we had high expectations. And I think the season was exciting because it was the first season at Chase Center, and the Warriors, they rebranded. They're following a finals loss, and they're now the underdogs instead of the front runners. But I think also at the same time, it was depressing, right? Seeing Kevin Durant in a Nets uniform, seeing Klay Thompson sidelined, and seeing Curry sidelined for almost all the season. I mean, he missed most of the year until he returned against we played the Raptors, and he returned, and then nothing really came of that afterwards. So 15-50 season. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this season. It was very interesting seeing DAngelo Russell in the Warriors uniform. I'll see you guys later, and yeah, go Warriors.